Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Ron, and today we're going to be doing another tier list of the Deep Rock Overclocks. This time we're just going to be ranking them based on how fun that I think that they are. Fun is extremely subjective, and if you have a different opinion than mine, cool, that's great. I'm glad that you like other things that maybe I don't like as much, or maybe you like similar things that I like. So if they're really fun, they're going to go at the top, and if they're not as fun, they're going to go at the bottom. Most of the overclocks in this game are fairly fun. Most of the overclocks are actually really good too, as we did do a list that was just based on how good I think that they are. So let's begin this. And first up we have lighter tanks. Lighter tanks I think is like a C tier overclock. This just gives you more ammo for the flamethrower. Not the most fun. The flamethrower is fun, but just extra ammo isn't anything super special. So I think average C tier is fine. Ice Storm I think is a little bit more fun. I'd put this one up into probably A tier. You can freeze things pretty quick. You can do a lot of damage to big enemies, so that's nice. Snowball is probably an S tier. Shooting out the snowballs is really fun. You can freeze like entire hordes of enemies, which is awesome. And yeah, it gives the cryo cannon something else to do. Hydrogen ion additive is another C tier. It's like a lot of the clean overclocks. It's a bonus, but it's nothing super spectacular. AG mixture is probably another C tier. More velocity is nice, less gravity is nice, but not the most flashy or game-changing overclock. Volatile Impact I'm going to put into A tier because I do like the damage that you get. You get a lot more damage from it. But again, it's nothing like super spectacular for me. So just solid fun. Disperser Compound I think is A tier too. You can put out a lot more sludge, which is pretty awesome. Goo Bomber Special I think I'd also put up into A tier. Fun overclock. You can use it in some very interesting ways. It spits out goo in a straight line similar to how the Goo Bombers shoot it. So, pretty interesting. Sludge Blast is definitely S tier. This one is super fun. It deals tons of damage, as well as you get an acid shotgun, which is just awesome. Really good overclock there. Chain Hit, I think I'd put into D tier. I don't really have a whole lot of fun playing with Chain Hit. It seems like it would be a fun idea, and if it could bounce other ways, or bounce multiple times, I think it would be a lot more fun. But where it just works, and I think this one's for the Subata. It's either for the Subata or the revolver. Either way, it's not super impressive with either one of them, so yeah, I think D tier. Homebrew Powder. Honestly, I think I'd put Homebrew into B tier. As much as I dislike Homebrew Powder, it still can be a fun overclock, especially if you are high rolling. So I think that's where I'd put it. Sticky Additives, probably another C tier. Bonus damage and bonus slowdown, I think. It's Sticky Flames, that's what it is. It's bonus Sticky Flames, not slowdown. So, like, bonuses to the Flamethrower, but again, nothing like super flashy. Oversized Magazine, this is for the Subata as well. This one's like another B tier, because you can run it with Born Ready and essentially never reload your Subata, which is pretty nice. Automatic Fire I think is probably S tier. Turning the Subata into a submachine gun is really fun. I do like that, and it just feels really good. Explosive Reload is probably like an A tier. I like the Explosive Reload. It does feel really good on the gun, and it is pretty fun to use. Trank Rounds I think I'm going to put B tier, even though Trank Rounds are really good. They're not my most favorite overclock, because the slow rate of fire is just kind of annoying to me. Other than that, having like the 6-second stun on there is really good. Energy Rerouting, I'm going to put this one up into B tier. This one's a lot more fun than some of the other clean overclocks are, in my opinion, because it increases the charge speed of the EPC. So you can start doing like EPC mining faster or shooting out more Flying Nightmares quicker. So I do like that. Compact Feed Valves is probably like C tier. It gives you a lot more ammo, which is nice, but it's still just kind of an ammo buff, so I don't find it way fun, but it's not bad by any means. Fuel Stream Diffuser, I'm probably going to put up in A tier. Having like the 20 meters of flame reach is really awesome. It's really good for robot missions. You can reach turrets on the ceiling and stuff, so I do really like that. That is fun. Face Melter is probably like another... is Face Melter an S tier? I don't know if Face Melter's an S tier. I think it's an A tier. Very fun, lots of damage, short reach with the flamethrower, but I mean the damage is pretty awesome from it. Sticky Flames I think is S tier. I really like Sticky Flames. The amount of fire that you can put down and how long it lasts is just amazing. You can clear up enemies really quickly, and I just find it to be a lot of fun. Thermal Efficiency for the Cryo Cannon I'd probably put into B tier. This does make the Cryo Cannon feel better, just overall, and I do like that about it. But other than that, it's still just a clean overclock that's going to make your weapon feel a little bit better. Tuned Cooler is probably A tier. Speed at which you can freeze things is awesome with Tuned Cooler. Flow Rate Expansion, I'm actually going to put into B tier. I don't hate really using Flow Rate Expansion, but it does feel weird to me. So I think B tier is fair because it does change up the gun an okay amount. It's just not always in a way that I like it being changed. Ice Spear is probably S tier. Being able to shoot the Ice Spears is awesome. I really like that one. Compact Mags, this is for the Burst Pistol, I believe. This one's probably like B tier. It makes the Burst Pistol feel better. Experimental Rounds is a similar deal. It deals extra damage, which is nice, but doesn't change the Burst Pistol dramatically. If you really like damage, then take it. Electro Minelets, I'd say, is A tier. This one's just really cool. I like setting up the Electro Minelets, and it's really good for crowd control. Micro Flechettes, I think I'm also going to put into A tier because full stun or full ammo is pretty funny with Micro Flechettes. You can have like 400 rounds with the gun and just be stunning things like crazy. You're not killing things super quick with that build, but that's okay if things can't fight back. Lead Spray, I'm also going to put up into A tier. I like how much damage you get out of it, and the RNG factor is kind of funny with it, since it can just kind of spray all over the place. So I think I'd keep it there. Ultra Magnetic Cooling is probably another C tier. Does make the coil gun feel better, but it isn't super crazy. Backfeed Module is probably like C tier as well. Extra ammo is nice, and being able to fire it more often is great, but having less damage, it feels like a fair trade-off. Reatomizer, I'm actually going to put Reatomizer in A tier. It is fun to try to line up shot or to apply the effects to multiple enemies. It's difficult to do, but it is super fun, and it's very rewarding when it actually works. Mole is S tier. This one's super fun to use. I love being able to line up multiple ways to hit an enemy so that I can maximize my damage. I think that's really awesome. Hellfire is probably another S tier. Just the amount of AoE fire damage that you get is really cool with it. Triple Tech is also another S tier, I think, in terms of fun. Being able to fire out the coil gun 3 times in a row is really cool. I really do like that. Then we have Compact Ammo. I think this is for the GK2. These are all in a very weird order. I didn't organize them or anything, so it seems like we're just getting one weapon and then the next and then the next. Compact Ammo, I'm going to put it in B tier. Compact Ammo actually feels pretty good on the GK2. You get a little bit of extra ammo, and you get, I think it's reload speed? Gas rerouting is like a C tier. It's just, you get an extra rate of fire. It feels nice, but nothing way game-changing. Homebrew Powder, again, probably B tier. I do like Homebrew Powder. Well, I like it to some extent. When you're high rolling, it's pretty awesome. When you're low rolling, it's not that great. And when you're not building a damage build, it's kind of underwhelming. But it has highs and lows, so I think B tier is fine. The overtuned firing mechanism, this one's probably A tier. Having that really high rate of fire with the GK2 is really fun. I do like that. You can build full rate of fire and it feels really good. Bullets of Mercy is probably like B tier. It feels good on the GK2, but it's nothing like super flashy, so I think it would just be like right here. AI Stability Engine, do I put this one into S tier for fun? I think I put it into A tier for right now. It is really good. I like it a lot because you just have 0 recoil and 0 spread whatsoever, so you just have a laser beam, which is really nice. But it does have that slower rate of fire, which kind of knocks it down a little bit for me. Electrifying Reload, I think I'd also put into B tier. It's a cool mechanic, but it's honestly kind of a pain to get it to work. At least to spread it out to multiple enemies and then get it to work, especially if you're trying to use it in multiplayer, where teammates can just slaughter everything so fast that you might not be able to really get Electric Reload to work. Hoverclock, that one's an S tier. That one's fun. Lets you float through the air with the M1000. I really like that. You can stop fall damage with it. It's great if you pair it with Special Powder, then you can fling yourself all the way around the map. Never need to hit the ground. Minimal Clips, I'd say, is B tier. It just makes the M1000 better and feel a lot better, but it's, again, nothing super flashy. Active Stability System is a similar one. Moving faster with focus shots is kind of nice, but it's not necessary whatsoever. Hipster is definitely S tier. The fact that you can just build a spam fire build and fire the M1000 super fast, I just really like that. It's super fun to do that with. Electric focus shots, I'd say, is B tier too. It is interesting, and it can be fun if you're using blow-through rounds and hit multiple enemies and zap them all. Super cooling chamber, I think I'd also put into B tier. I actually like the mechanic to some extent that it has. It's just that really long recharge time, or that really long focus shot time, and the fact that you just don't have any ammo really brings it down. If it didn't have those two things, or just one of those things, I think it would be higher in terms of fun. Impact deflection is S tier. Being able to have bouncy rounds is just amazing. It's super fun to use. It is now a balance. This has it as a clean, which it was at one time, but now it's a balanced overclock, and it has slightly less rate of fire, but that doesn't really matter. Thermal liquid coolant, another C tier. It's good on the drag. It's actually really good on the drag, but it's just more cooling on the Drac. So Rewire mod, I'm going to put into B tier. Rewire mod is hit or miss with me. You can get tons of ammo back. You can use it a lot, which is really cool. You can have really long amounts of sustained fire, but there's also the drawback of just you not being able to fight for minutes at a time, or, well, not really minutes at a time, but seconds at a time. That can just feel kind of annoying because you're just like pausing the combat for a second while you move around. Aggressive venting is S tier. Super fun. You can run around, you can overheat your gun, you can run faster then because you're probably running hot feet with this. And it's actually really ammo efficient. It's really great for taking care of crowds, as well as every time you overheat it, you burn everything around you and fear pretty much everything around you. Overtune Particle Accelerate, I think, is also S tier in terms of fun. You get a lot of damage out of it. It can be a little bit inconsistent with the RNG, though, because shots can just go everywhere, which is annoying at longer ranges. But at close to medium range, you can just shred through big enemies or through hordes with it, no problem. Shield Battery Booster, for me, is not great in terms of fun. It's like B tier. It can be fun so long as you can keep your distance from enemies. But if you can't and you want to be aggressive, then it honestly isn't going to work out that well for you. Thermal Exhaust Feedback, I'd say, is probably A tier. I like building up the heat meter on the Drac. It provides some challenge, as well as you get extra fire from it, so that's pretty cool. Compact Shells with the double barrel is like another C tier. You get bonus ammo and bonus reload speed with the double barrel, I believe, which is nice, but it's, again, nothing super flashy. Double barrel is, I'm going to put it into D tier. I still don't like it. It is a little bit fun, I will say that, but you being forced to fire out both barrels every time you shoot just isn't worth it, and it just feels sluggish at times. It feels really bad against hordes, unless you have blow-through rounds and they're lining themselves up conveniently for you. But if they're not and they're all spread out, it just feels worse than just having any other overclock on the double barrel, so just there. Special Powder, S tier, easy. You can fling yourself around the map. It's just really cool. You get the shotgun jump. Really like it. Stuffed Shells, another like C tier. It's really good. You get more damage. Maybe I'd put it up into B tier because you do get more damage. It does make the double barrel feel better, and the double barrel's pretty awesome. But, again, nothing like super flashy. Shape Shells, in terms of fun, is probably actually S tier for me. You get that narrow spread. You can actually kind of snipe with the shotgun, which feels nice. The shotgun hits really hard, especially if you can get all the pellets on target. And with it getting buffed recently, that's pretty cool too. Jumbo Shells is like another S tier. Being able just to slap anything in the face with this feels really good. You can just chunk like Dreadnoughts or Oppressors or Praetorians, anything like that. I really do like the Jumbo Shells. Minimal magazines for the Zhukovs, probably like a C tier. It is nice. It gets the Zhukovs a bonus, but it's just a minor bonus. Custom casings, same type of thing. You get more ammo, which is nice. The rate of fire reduction doesn't really matter, but again, doesn't change the Zhukovs significantly. You just have longer times to shoot at your submachine guns before you run out of ammo. Cryo Mindlets is probably S tier. I like putting down the Cryo Mindlets. They look really awesome. It's great if you put them underneath stationary targets like Spitballers. You can clear them up really well, and it's really good with blow-through rounds. That's actually super fun. Embedded Detonators, S tier. You just get so much damage out of it. It's kind of ridiculous, and it's pretty fun to even shoot into crowds because you can spread out the damage pretty reasonably with them. Gas Recycling, I'm going to say, is A tier. The only downside to this one has, at least in my opinion, that's really significant, is the movement speed. That is kind of annoying, not being able to move at full speed with the Zhukovs, but the extra damage you get does feel really good with them, so I do like that. Quickfire with the crossbow is probably like A tier. This one feels really good with the crossbow. Crossbow then has much longer effective range because you don't have to worry about the drop-off as much because you have the increased velocity and you get the bonus reload speed. Just feels really good. Specialist is probably A tier as well. If you like using the special bolts a lot, like I do, then Specialist is really good. I guess this one's going to be determined on how much you like the special bolts and which special bolts you really enjoy using. Cryo bolts, I think I'm going to put into A tier, and fire bolts I'm also going to put into A tier. These are both really good. One is freeze, one is fire. They build up either heat or freeze over time based on any enemy they hit or just in an area around where the bolt hits itself, and that can be really useful. It's also pretty fun to use, although you can't pick them back up, which can kind of suck if you just miss the shot entirely. Bodkin Points is easy S tier. This one is so much fun. You get bouncy bolts with the crossbow, and it's just such a spectacle to watch them just bounce around from enemy to enemy. Trifork Volley, I think I'd also put into A tier. it can do a lot of damage, which is really nice. And it is cool to see the 3 bolts just flying out there. Can be a little bit difficult to use at longer ranges though, and the fact that you can't pick up any of your bolts can make you run through your ammo pretty fast. Magnetic cooling unit, this one's like D tier for me, just because it gets outperformed by the other EPC overclocks, and it just doesn't feel as good as some of them, so that's why I'd put it there. Heat pipe I'd probably put into C tier. It does make the EPC feel a bit better once you get used to it, and if you just like it for being a tool and using it for thin containment mining, that's an option, but it is difficult to get used to, and it's really difficult to switch back and forth from in other weapons, because I always screw up my timing on heat pipe, so can be fun, but also can be really frustrating. Heavy hitter I'd probably put into like B tier. You get more damage per shot on the EPC, it feels really good. Doesn't change the EPC in a huge way, but it feels really good on like a fire build. Overcharger I'd probably put into A tier. Being able to use Overcharger and Flying Nightmare feels really good against crowds. I do like that a lot. Persistent Plasma I'd probably put into S tier. Again, it's more the spectacle of it. It is really good. You get extra damage out of it than you normally would, even from the loss of damage in it. But on top of that, you get all the pretty purple plasma that's going around there dealing damage to everything, so I really like that. Liquid cooling system, this one's for the wave cooker. This one's probably like B tier. It makes it feel better. It really does. So I like that. Super focus lens. This gets you more damage at close range with the wave cooker. This one's probably like C tier. It's nice that you get the bonus damage from it, and it can feel really good with either like sticky flames or, well, really any slowdown or freezing. Then you can get a lot of extra damage out of it. So it is nice for that regard, but it doesn't change the wave cooker immensely. Diffusion ray I'd probably put into A tier. This one feels really good, being able to pierce through multiple enemies. Makes it so you can stack slows easier with the wave cooker, or you can thermal shock easier to multiple enemies. So I do like that. Mega power supply, also A tier. The amount of ammo and the increased rate of fire that you get is really awesome, especially if you go with the narrow lens, because then your damage per second goes up pretty significantly with the wave cooker, especially at long range targets like acid spitters and web spitters. Blistering Necrosis, I think is S tier. This one is really cool looking, and that's the main thing that I base it off of. It looks really cool to see all the blisters pop up on enemies, and you do feel like you're getting a good amount of damage, as well as it feels like it's the most straightforward overclock in a way for the wave cooker, especially if you just want to build it for damage and for wave clear by itself without pairing it with any other weapon or switching out the build a lot. Gamma's probably also S tier. It's really cool that there's another radiation overclock. And I do like seeing the things get irradiated and then run around and irradiate everything else around them. That's a stunner for the Warthog, probably C tier. It gets you more stun chance. You do more damage to stunned enemies, which is cool, but again, it's nothing super flashy. Lightweight magazines is probably like B tier. This one feels really good for the Warthog. The faster reload speed is really nice. The extra ammo is also really nice. It's an all-around really good overclock for it, but again, it doesn't change it immensely. So I'll put it there. Magnetic pelt alignment's probably A tier. I like the tighter spread on it. The only thing that I dislike is the less rate of fire. That is kind of annoying, going from the regular Warthog to magnetic pelt alignment. Cycle overload, I'm going to say, is S tier. Building full rate of fire shotgun feels awesome. It may not be the most practical in a lot of situations. It's really good against big enemies if you can get it right up next to them, where accuracy and spread pattern doesn't matter whatsoever. But outside of that really close range, it can kind of struggle. Even so, it is really fun. Mini shells, probably also S tier. Just having tons and tons of ammo with the shotgun just feels great. Even though your damage does suffer, that doesn't matter if you can hit enemies in their weak spots. And this one feels amazing on like critical weakness, where then hitting weak shots deals so much damage, and having like a 250 round shotgun just feels great. Super slim rounds for Stubby is probably like C tier. It's a good overclock. It increases your accuracy and mag size, I believe. Well-oiled machine is kind of the same way. Increased rate of fire is cool, but again, it doesn't change Stubby immensely. Refire booster I'm going to put into A tier. This one's really fun. This one massively increases your rate of fire, which does feel really good. And it gives you some electric damage on top of that, which feels nice for just clearing enemies. Lightweight rounds I'm probably going to put into B tier for Stubby. It's great if you want to take it with a secondary that doesn't have the most ammo, so if you want to take it with nukes or something. But it does make Stubby feel kind of sluggish, which isn't always the most fun to use. Turret Arc, I'm going to put Turret Arc up into A tier. Turret Arc is really satisfying and really fun once it works. It's just that once it works part that can be a little bit of an issue, because bugs can take weird pathing sometimes and just ignore your turret arc. as well as you might not have the most time to set it up consistently. And if you're forced to constantly be moving and readjusting, it doesn't feel as great. Turret EM Discharge, I think I'd also put up into A tier. Maybe I'd put this one, probably A tier. I don't know, A or S tier. This one's super fun. You can hit multiple enemies with it. It does good damage. You just only need one turret up at a time, so then you can shoot them, and you can trigger it multiple times very quickly. Eraser for the Loki, probably like C tier. It feels good on the Loki, but again, it's just kind of a basic overclock. Armor Breaking Module, I think I'd put a little bit higher, because this one does feel good if you're constantly fighting enemies with armor, and it just makes the Loki feel a little bit better there. Explosive Chemical Rounds is definitely S tier. This one's super satisfying and really strong. You just can clear up hordes so fast with it, and seeing the little explosions every like 3 shots is great. Seeker Rounds, I think I'd also put up in S tier. Having the wall hacks plus aimbot is sometimes really fun to have, especially if the game just doesn't feel like it's being very fair at the moment, like putting just bunches of enemies behind corners and stuff where you can't easily hit them, but they can easily hit you. Seeker Rounds is a great remedy to that, and it's very fun to use. Executioner is probably also another S tier. You get so much damage out of Executioner. The downsides are basically nothing, and you have like max lock-ons in half a second whenever you lock onto anything, which just feels great. Neuro Lasso is probably like B tier in terms of fun. It can be kind of fun if you're with a teammate, if you're trying to leash certain things. Solo, it's not very fun at all, because then you're just waiting for Bosco to kill whatever you're holding on to. But I do like the mechanic of it. The mechanic is interesting. Clean Sweep on the grenade launcher is like B tier. You get extra damage with the grenade launcher. It feels great. Pack Rat is probably like C tier in terms of fun. It is really good. 2 extra ammo is great. It's similar to light tanks, but it's nothing super flashy. Compact Rounds is probably like B tier as well. Getting a whole lot more ammo feels great. Losing out on the damage and the AoE kind of sucks, but it doesn't matter too much. Depends on how often you like shooting the grenade launcher. RJ250 is an easy S tier. You get to fling yourself around the map. That's great. You get tons of ammo with the grenade launcher, and you can shoot it pretty fast. May not do the most damage, but it still works against crowds. Fat Boy, again, easy S tier. You get nukes. You get to launch nukes at anything. That's great. Hyper Propellant, also S tier. You get a railgun. It feels really strong. You can now snipe enemies across the map with it. Then we've got Lightweight Cases. This is Breech Cutter. This one's probably like C tier. Because again, it's probably B tier. This one's one of the strongest overclocks in the game, in my opinion, because it just makes the Breech Cutter that much better. And the Breech Cutter is really cool, but this overclock is just increased ammo, increased reload speed. So it's another like B or C tier overclock where it's fun and cool, but not the most fun or cool. Roll Control, I'm going to put Roll Control up into probably A tier. Roll Control is really fun. I do like that. That is pretty cool. It's not entirely necessary, but I do like that. That's something that you can do. Stronger Plasma, probably another like C or B tier overclock. Gets you more damage, which is nice for the Breech Cutter. You don't really need that with the Breech Cutter, but it is fun. Return to Sender, I'm going to say is A tier. I do like it. You can shoot out the line and bring it back to you, which is a unique mechanic. High Voltage Crossover is like another B tier. It's nice. You get extra electricity on your rounds, but that's it. Spinning Death is S tier. It's for the spectacle. You get a blender that just sits there and chops up everything. It's really cool. Inferno, another like A tier. I like how fast things just burst into flames with this. And that's about it. I think that's... so yeah, A tier. Efficiency Tweaks. This one's like another like B tier. It makes the Shard Diffractor feel really good, but doesn't really change it all that much. Just extra charge speed, faster charge speed. Automatic Beam Control, I think I'd put into C tier. I'm honestly not a huge fan of that one. You do get extra damage per second with it, which is nice, but being forced to fire out the gun entirely is just annoying, and I don't really like using it that much. Feedback Loop is like another C tier for me. You get extra AoE on the Shard Diffractor, which can feel nice, but it just doesn't feel as good as going with like AoE with either the Breech Cutter or the Grenade Launcher, in my opinion. Depends on how much you like the extra AoE on the laser pointer. Let's see, Volatile Impact Reactor. This one's S tier. You get to create lava. It looks really cool. I really enjoy it for that. Endothermic Explosions, another S tier in terms of fun. You get to set up your... I keep wanting to call them pallets for some reason. They're not pallets, they're platforms. You put up your platforms and then you can cause them to explode, which is an interesting mechanic. I like that that's implemented in the game. Overdrive Booster, I'm going to put up into A tier, even though Overdrive Booster is really, really strong, and it does feel really good to use against like Dreadnoughts and stuff. Locking yourself in place can be a little bit annoying at times, or pickaxe canceling your charge can be a little bit annoying at times because you're just losing out on ammo. So that's why I think I'd put it there. A little more oomph with the minigun. This one's probably like A tier. Having the 0.1 second spin up time on the minigun just feels so good. I really like it for that reason. Thin drum walls is like another C tier overclock. It gets you more ammo, gets you more cooling rate, which is nice, but doesn't change the minigun significantly. Burning Hell is probably an S tier. You get a short range flamethrower on your minigun, which just feels great, especially if you want to combine it with like volatile bullets or something. The compact feed mechanism, I'm going to put this one into B tier because running full ammo minigun is funny. It's great to have 3,800 rounds with it, even though it may not always suit you in every situation. You may not need that many rounds for every mission. I do really like it. Exhaust vectoring, like another B tier. This one, it does get you extra damage, which is really nice. And the accuracy isn't so bad, but it's nothing insane. It doesn't change it immensely. Bullet Hell is an easy S tier. This one is one of my favorite overclocks in the entire game. You just have bullets that just bounce everywhere and can sometimes get you massive amounts of damage and sometimes get you kind of underwhelming results. Sometimes it takes a long time for you to kill just regular enemies with this. Depends on how you build it. If you build it with like the increased accuracy, if you build it with fire rounds, you build it for damage, then it can actually be really good in certain situations, but you can still run through ammo with it fairly quick. Either way, it is very fun. Lead Storm is probably like an A tier in terms of fun. Again, locking yourself down can kind of suck. It can be a little bit annoying, but the extra damage that you get, and if you build full damage Lead Storm, you can rip through big enemies really fast, which feels awesome. Composite Drums, this one is for the Autocannon, like another C tier. You get extra ammo, it feels really good, but that's about it. Splintering Shells is probably like A tier. This one does actually make the Autocannon feel a lot better. Giving you extra AoE and extra area damage is great. So I do like Splintering Shells. Carpet Bomber is a similar thing. Also up into A tier. Sometimes it can be underwhelming against big enemies, but against crowds it's really, really strong. Combat Mobility is probably another... Actually, I think I'd put Combat Mobility up into S tier in terms of fun. If you build like full tank Combat Mobility and also the faster build-up or rate of fire, you have pretty much a shield going every time you're engaging on anything, and that's a 50% shield, since that got buffed as well. You can also combine it with Veteran Depositor and have another 30% added on top of that, so you can just tank through just about everything, which feels great. And you can move at almost normal speeds then with Gunner, so I think I would put that one up there. Big Bertha is probably like A tier. I like the extra damage that you get, but the downsides are a little bit annoying, especially the rate of fire nerf to it. But if you like actually being able to hit things at like medium range pretty consistently with the autocannon, Big Bertha is a pretty good option. Neurotoxin Payload, I think I'd put up into S tier. It's just so much fun to run this with the fear and then just see everything scatter as well as you just spread poison to everything. Manual Guidance Cutoff is like another D tier one. I just don't like it. Firing the Hurricane and guiding the rockets with the crosshairs is fun. Taking that away is not fun. So, yeah, D tier. Overtuned Feed Mechanism, this one's like an easy A tier. This one feels really good for the Hurricane. You get extra rate of fire and extra velocity. So any build that you want to run with it just becomes better. Fragmentation Missiles, probably another A tier in terms of fun. You can cover a big area with it. And again, you aren't compromising really on anything. So it's just a bonus. It feels really nice with the Hurricane. Plasma Burster Missiles is easy S tier for me. Being able to weave the missiles back and forth and hit multiple enemies feels great. Especially being able to like one-shot flying rocks and stuff. Super fun overclock to use. Mine Layer System, I'm going to put into A tier. Mine Layer System can be an S tier, but it really depends on the mission type. If you're against like Magterra consistently, then it feels not that great. If you're against just waves of grunts or against dreadnoughts or something, then Mine Layer System can feel really, really good. And it kind of gives you that sense of, you know, planning ahead, putting down all your traps in one area, creating a minefield, and then having the enemies run through it. Jet Fuel Homebrew is probably S tier as well. The amount of damage you get and the fact that you can just fire out rockets super fast feels really cool. I do like this one a lot. Salvo Module is another S tier. You get a rocket shotgun. That's pretty awesome just in and of itself. So I think I'd put that one there. Chain Hit for the Revolver, again, just D tier. I don't really care for it. It's not one of the funnest overclocks to use. It can be inconsistent, and it just feels like you just toss it on because you don't have any other overclocks. Homebrew Powder is probably like B tier. Again, it is a bigger randomizer, it is a bigger chance, and it does feel a lot better on the revolver, but it doesn't change the revolver too much in a lot of ways, because even if you low roll with the revolver, you're still hitting pretty hard against most enemies. Volatile bullets, I think, is S tier. The amount of damage you get is just stupid. Having 300% bonus damage on top of your bonus damage with the revolver can just destroy everything so fast, because if you're hitting something like a detonator where it has a triple multiplier on it, so all of its weak spots take triple damage, you're doing 300% more damage because the thing's on fire, and then another 300% more damage because you're hitting those weak spots. And the revolver has bonus weak spot damage. You can also put more weak spot damage on it, and you also have to calculate the amount of damage that the revolver's just doing. So you can just stack up the damage to a ridiculous amount. 6-shooter, I think I'd put 6-shooter in A tier. It feels all around better than the regular revolver, and I like how fast you can shoot it. I don't know, maybe I'd put it up in S tier. This one is pretty fun. I do like it a lot, so yeah, let's move it up there. You get a cowboy gun, you get to fire it fast. Elephant rounds, Elephant rounds is probably like A tier. It can be kind of sluggish, and if you're not pairing it with an AoE build, it can kind of run through ammo fast. If you make up for its weaknesses, you essentially have a pocket sniper rifle, and it feels great. Magic bullets is easy S tier. You have the bullets that are just bouncing around everywhere, dealing high damage to, well, any crowd that's nearby. You can have explosive rounds and chemical rounds and combine them. Have explosive chemical rounds that splash poison to everything around it. Composite casings with the burst pistol is honestly probably like a B tier. It does feel good to have a faster burst fire with the burst pistol, so I think that. And then full chamber seal, I'm going to put this one into D tier, just because this one doesn't give you that much. The faster reload speed is kind of nice. The extra damage is whatever, you're probably not going to even notice it. There's not a whole lot of points that it gives you. It gives you like a 0.2 second faster reload and 1 more point of damage per shot. So it's just not that great, and I kind of wish that this one would get buffed. So I think that's where I would place all the overclocks. In terms of fun, there's a lot of super fun overclocks, a lot of very fun overclocks, even some pretty decent overclocks. Then there's like some of these that are still potentially really good, like light tanks, but aren't always the most fun. They're just good. And thanks for watching this video. I really do appreciate it. Special thanks to the supporters of this channel. These are members over here on YouTube and my patrons over on Patreon. They get early access to videos like this. And if you would like to be a part of it, you can. There are links down in the description. Be sure to check those out. Thanks everybody who does that. It does help out the channel a lot. You guys take care, and I will talk to you next time. Bye-bye.